Okay, so could you give me your name?
Yeah, hi. I'm Tarin Wittig, and I'm a Foley artist slash sound designer and sound recordist.
Okay, so could you tell me more about what that is?
Okay, so sound recordist just means that you're like on set and you're in a recording studio and you're just recording either the actors or just kind of like field recording just on set. And then sound design is post-production, so mostly just like editing and designing sound for films or animated or whatever medium you're a part of. And then Foley is part of the post-production process, but it's a little bit different. It's more it leans more into acting, honestly, because you're like performing a little bit of the sound that needs to be recreated for the short film or for the audio drama or whatever it is. So basically, you're using random objects to recreate sounds in like movies. So an example would be like footsteps. You don't really want to record the footsteps in like on set because you're paying attention to the actors and their dialogue and like other things. And so a Foley artist will come in later and add the smaller tidbits of like footsteps and like clothing movement and things like that. So
Okay,
yeah.
so which did you end up getting into first?
So first, I started out as a boom operator, which is a sound recordist. We have a couple different names depending on what you want your title to be. You can be an audio operator, audio recordist, whatever you like. But I started as a boom operator on a improv short film with one of our professors, and I was just learning how to hold the boom up, how to record the sound, what to listen for, things like that. I was asked to do it through an upperclassman named Taylor, and he asked me, he's like, "Yeah, so I heard you're interested in sound. Like, I'm gonna bring you on set to kind of be like my audio PA." So I was kind of like a PA, but specifically for audio, and that's kind of how I got started with that. And then ever since that project, I have been doing audio recording, on set recording for basically um, a lot of projects on campus, like a lot. So I was a boom operator for a lot of people because of that project. So
So starting with that, what are some of the skills that you have to have for being a boom operator?
um, you need to be strong physically and mentally. And I say that because like holding a boom like this for 10 plus minutes is really straining like on your body and it hurts a lot sometimes. You have to be like mentally strong to tell yourself keep doing it. You can't like back down now or you're going to mess up the shot if you do. So I would say like that's definitely a skill to have is just be physically strong, be prepared for that, be prepared to be tired. It is a very physically taxing job. And then also mentally, just being prepared to you're not really talking to anyone. I mean, you do sometimes, but you're really zoned in. You have to listen to everything around you and like be able to analyze what's going on. So, um, I would say like a skill for that is like be very attentive. You cannot doze off in the middle of a scene. You can't do it because that like you'll miss something and then the whole entire shot is ruined or the sound is ruined because you weren't paying attention. So like you're listening to things like background noise, like what kind of refrigerator is there making a sound? The AC, is it making a sound? Can you turn off the AC? Is there like a weird buzz in the background from like an exit sign or like there's all these things that you're listening to. And then also when you're actually recording, can you hear voices in the background? Are there people talking on set that shouldn't be? And you have to like say something too. So like also being able to be confident enough to stop what's going on or to let the director know, hey, there's this sound going on, we need to do it again. And like it's not your fault. So don't feel bad about saying that. You have to be able to say things like that and be confrontational enough to talk about those things. And then being confident in knowing what you hear. Like you're the only person in the room that can hear everything. So trust yourself, trust that you're hearing like that little buzz in the background, or like if the AC decides to turn on halfway through the shot, like if no one else notices it because they're doing their job is to point those things out. And it's okay if you have to restart like the shot. It may take up some time, but it's very important that sound is 100% okay. Because without, you can have bad video and good audio, but you cannot have bad audio and good video. Like you can, bad audio will ruin everything. You can't do that. So your job is very important. So the skills, just like strength, mentally and physically, being attentive, um, knowing what to listen for, which I can talk a little bit about later. I kind of mentioned some things now, but knowing what to listen for, and then just being able to be confident and have good communication skills. So,
What made you interested in just starting off as a boom operator when you were getting interested in sound?
so well, I wanted to be a Foley artist. I knew that, and a lot of Foley artists had said like you need to understand sound itself, and you need to understand sound design and all the things that come with that. And so for me, the easiest way to do that was to be a boom op, just to understand what to listen for and how sound works within a room. And so I wasn't really interested in being a boom op. And then when I went on to that first set, I was like, oh, I'm so tired. And then I kept doing it, and I was like, wait, this is actually kind of cool. Because you're like the only one doing it, and you feel this sense of like, this is gonna sound really arrogant. You feel this sense of pride and like accomplishment because you're needed, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this, and we need you here, we need you here," and like you feel this sense of accomplishment really early on, which is really cool. But then also, yeah, you're just such a big part of the project, which is, I mean, everyone is. Don't get me wrong, everyone is, but it's just different because you're like on your own, you're doing your own thing, and I think that's like really cool, and you get to problem solve all the time. Like, where should I put my boom? Will it be here? Oh, like this shot's really wide. What do I do? Oh, I guess I should use lavalier mics. Like, there's just so many things that you're thinking about constantly, which is, and it keeps you busy on set, which is really cool. So I think like in general, the thing that like got me excited or like interested in doing boom op was just to learn more about sound itself. And then just people wanting me to do sound on their sets too, I guess.
Well, even backing up further, what made you interested in sound?
Um, so I've always been interested in film. I knew that, and I would kind of just be like, I'd always film things on my iPhone and be like, oh yeah, this, and like make cute little videos in middle school. And then it was in high school though when I watched a video on how A Quiet Place, like the sound for the film A Quiet Place, like the sound design, how that was created. And I was like, that's not just sound effects. Like they actually record that in like post production. They record like celery snapping and like all these things to make like a monster sound. And I fell in love with it instantly. I was like, dude, and I would just go up to everyone I knew. I'd be like, did you know, that in this movie they used this for this sound? And I just started doing a bunch of research on different movies to find out how the sounds were created. And I would just start telling everyone everything. It's kind of like in the second Lord of the Rings where Aragorn hits the helmet with his foot, and he's like, and everyone's like, did you know he actually broke his toe when he did that? And I kind of do that with sound design. I do that with everything, and that's kind of like just I watched one YouTube video, and that's what like sparked my love for Foley and just sound in general. So
Did you see I guess any similarities to what you wanted to be when you were younger? Like what did you want to be when you were younger? Did it have anything to do with sound?
no, not at all. Actually, I wanted to be a firefighter for most of my life. Um, so very big career change. I very much don't know what happened there. I kind of was like I was supposed to go to like a firefighting school too in high school. And then like I got involved in other activities in high school, and so I didn't have time. But then like again, I watched one video, started doing research on college, and found this program, and I was like, oh my gosh, they do film stuff. That I didn't know that was a career. Like I had no idea. I thought that was just like a impossible dream because only like the best of the best make it to Hollywood. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, I kind of realized I didn't really want to go to Hollywood, and I kind of want to do my own stuff and do my own like creations and work with people I want to work with, and I can get paid to do that. So that's kind of nice.
What made you realize that?
Well, I've worked on some sets that felt more Hollywood geared or more Hollywood based, or maybe brought in people from Hollywood. And I'm not saying that everyone in Hollywood is bad. That is not true at all. I've met some really awesome people who've worked in Hollywood. Even some of our previous professors worked in Hollywood and they're amazing. But I think like learning more about the industry itself and learning more about like whether it's like politics of the industry or just like how certain films make it, um and what films are making it now, I kind of realized like, you know what, I want to tell my own stories. Or like I think a lot of people who don't make it have stories to tell, but because of a money thing or because of like a streaming thing or distribution thing, they can't get their stories out there, which is really sad to me. And I want to be able to work with those people who have really good stories to tell. Because I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really been impressed with the things that have been distributed to the public at the current moment. I'm not feeling anything. I'm not feeling like emotion in it. Some of them are really fun, but I'm not feeling like what I want to feel. Not because they're like necessarily bad, but I just think there's a lot of other stories that can be told, and that's just going to have to be through an indie perspective, which is okay. So,
Hmm. So, and you kind of learned that, I guess, from being more like with your onset jobs through doing, I guess, like boom operating and stuff like that.
mhm. Yeah, you don't really get to, in my experience, I haven't really experienced the Hollywood aspect of things in post production. I've been working more closely with people in Houston. But then with on set things, you meet kind of everybody from everywhere, and it's just sometimes the environments haven't been the best, or like there it's just not a place to learn really. Like everyone always talks about, yes, experience is the best way to learn, and I firmly believe that, but there's definitely been some sets that I've been on where I'm like, I didn't learn anything except for negativity. And just like, oh, we're the macho man, so like we're just gonna rawr, and I'm like, that's not a place to learn. That's a place to just be sad and negative and just hate your life, and also to not want to do, like, it makes you not want to do what you love to do because of that. And I think that that's kind of what made me realize like I don't really want to go into Hollywood because I don't want to have a guessing game of whether I'm going to have a good experience or not. I just want to know going into a job that like because of the people I'm working with, because of my vibes and the positivity I want to bring onto set, that I'm going to have a good experience even if things go wrong.
Mhm.
So,
Do you feel like, in addition to learning how to be attentive for which helped you with Foley, and also learning that you didn't want to go into Hollywood, there were some other lessons that you learned while like being on set?
there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff you learn on set. I think like, well, first you need to go in expecting to not go home for a few days. Like you'll go home. You'll get to sleep eventually. But I think like you need to want to be there. You need to want to be there. Yeah, like you can't just go in like with the idea that like, oh, I'm just gonna like mosey on. Even if you're a PA, let me tell you, PAs are the one of the most important jobs on set, okay? I'm a little biased because I've been a PA on a lot of sets, but like they're so important. Like you need someone to go get this, go get that, to go tell someone this. Like it's so important. It saves so much time. Anyways, but like if you're coming in as a PA and you're like, yeah, like this job's gonna be easy and I'm just gonna stand here and wait to be told what to do and blah blah. No, wrong. You need to come in with the idea that you're there to learn, you're there to ask questions, you're there to provide a service to everybody else on set. You're there to also like be initiative with it. So like you want to take action before, like if someone's like, dang, this thing ran out of batteries. You shouldn't have to wait to be asked to go get a battery. You should already have the battery in your hand, ready to give to someone. And so like being like proactive with everything. So like just on set in general, no matter what job you have, being proactive, um, come in prepared too. There's been a lot of times where I like went on to set as a boom op and I didn't have enough batteries, and I thought I did, but I didn't double check because I was like, oh, I know my audio bag, like, and then I got onto set and I had 3 batteries and I was like, oh, I need a PA to go get those. And like that's why PAs are important. So then when people like me fail, they can save me. Um, but like it doesn't matter what job you're in, everyone needs to be prepared. Everyone needs to be prepared for changes to happen, for mistakes to happen, for things to just get ripped out from underneath you, because filming is not easy. Things happen, like schedules change, people drop, like you have to be prepared for everything and be able to adapt to those changes very quickly and not let that affect your whole experience. Um, so yeah, the biggest thing I've learned is to be prepared, be proactive, and just be ready to go, go, go. It's a very fast paced environment. So those are kind of the biggest lessons I've learned
Mhm.
through failed experiences.
Do you have any really interesting or funny stories?
um, well, I'll talk about Foley a little bit because not a lot of people know about it. But so I worked on this short film called The Nothing, and I did some Foley for that. And it was like the first short film I did that was very like horror and very like gory. And I was like, yes, I finally get to do something that's a little bit more like Foley involved. And so I was working with my friend Emmanuel, who's an amazing editor. If y'all need an editor, go talk to him or want to learn. He's amazing. And him and I have been working together for about 2 years, and we've worked like he's been my editor and I've been his sound designer for like on multiple projects. And so we were doing Foley together, and we were like, how are we gonna make this sound of like this guy's like trigger warning? I'm about to talk about gory stuff. But like his back getting like slashed open. And I was like, bro, I don't know. I was like, I've never done this part before. I don't know what I'm doing. And so we like went to like three different stores to find a watermelon, and we like couldn't find a watermelon. Like I'm telling you, we went to every grocery store on the planet and there was no watermelons. I was like, dude, are we on like a watermelon shortage? Like I don't know what's going on. And so then we finally found one. It was like a personal sized $7 watermelon. Okay, we spent $7 for this. And Foley's expensive, okay? Like you gotta find stuff and it's expensive. Anyway, so we bought like meat, like raw meat, we bought watermelons, we bought a pepper, and we just sat in the sound lab and just put it all on the floor. We had like a bunch of trash bags to like cover the mess because we made a huge mess. Um, and I was just like, I don't know what to do with this. I just bought things that would sound squishy, like humans or something. And then I was like, okay. And so I had a huge like kitchen knife. Don't do this at home. Please be a professional. I'm not, I like at that time, I wasn't even a professional. And I was like, I don't know if I should do this. I consider myself a professional now, and y'all should too, and whatever you're doing. But I had to like stab the watermelon and like twist the knife and like all this stuff. And I was just like, ah, like trying to get the sound. And then someone like opened the door and they just saw me like murdering a watermelon. And it was like really awkward. I was like, I promise I'm not crazy. I'm just doing this for like a film. So I think like Foley's interesting because you're doing a lot of weird stuff all the time. And so like if you're doing like a kissing scene too, or like things like that, it gets weird. It gets weird, okay? That's all I'm gonna say about it. It gets weird. So you like people will catch you doing weird things and you're just like, I'm just creating sounds. I'm just stabbing watermelons, or like I have raw meat in my hands and I'm like squishing it or punching it or slapping it. Like you're doing all sorts of weird things. So I think like oh, I'm just thinking back to all those times. It's an interesting time doing Foley because you look stupid too doing it, like especially if you're doing like sounds. Oh, that's another thing. I did a sound for the monster in another short film called Darkness that I did, and I just was like up on a mic like really close and personal, and I was just like breathing into the mic. I was like, if anyone walks in here while I'm doing this, I'm like, please don't look at me. Like I hate when people watch me do it because I look so stupid, but it's okay though. It's for the art. It's fine. um but yeah, like there's just so many stories. And then like on set, there's so many stories of I can't even think of one. Like there's like people getting dragged across the floor for special effects. There's like I don't know, you just being on set, you see everything, and it's really cool to see the end product afterwards and being like, oh, so that's what that sounds like. And there's like or that's what that looks like. Especially with Foley, because you get to see it come alive right in front of you. And that's been like I can't think of anything funny specifically because there's just so much that's happened. But like the best part, definitely for sure, is seeing everything come alive and just seeing like like me stabbing a watermelon, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that does sound like someone getting stabbed, like that's so cool. And then like the crunch, and you get to layer it, and you can like crack a celery for bones, and I'm like, it's like the rib cage is breaking, and then you get super excited. Anyways, I'm gonna go on a rant for like 20 minutes about that.
Could you go through like a kind of an inventory of sounds that you've made and how you've made them?
Yeah, I can. So as I said before, like stabbing someone, I've used a watermelon. Well, also, little tip, if you do get into Foley, depending on what fruit or whatever you use and what area of the body is being attacked or stabbed, like it, you have to think about what fruit you're going to use. So like for me, if someone's getting stabbed in the chest, there's all these bones, like the sternum and the rib cage and like all these things protecting these organs. So like a watermelon works great because it has kind of like a harder like shell, not shell, but like you know what I mean. It's like harder on the outside. So when you stab it with a knife and like twist it, you get that huge crunch. And so like for me, that's what I'm thinking of when I'm like thinking of someone getting stabbed in the chest. Now, if someone's getting like stabbed in a softer area, like the thigh or like the abdomen, you can use something like maybe more like a water or not a watermelon, a cantaloupe because it's or like it's kind of more gushy on the inside, so you can kind of like open the cantaloupe and just stab the inside of it rather than through the actual outside. So I've done that. I've done very simple things too, like footsteps. There was a scene in a short film called Father that I was a part of where the character was walking upstairs. And I was like, well, we're in a room with carpet, so how are we going to do that? So I don't know if I know this. I went to one of the back wood shop areas and I may have borrowed one of their like little boxes that they had for like some wood shop thing. I don't know. It's in the back of the room. So I was like, this is up for grabs. I put it back though, don't worry. And so I brought it into the sound lab and I just had like a hollow, basically recreated a staircase. And I just would step on it with my feet. Um, to recreate those footsteps. And then you also have to think about weight and like how the actor's walking. Are they more of a like firm stepper? Are they a light walker? You have to think about what they're doing in the scene and really recreate what they're doing. So you are an actor. Like as a Foley artist, you're a performer, you're an actor. So that's really cool. Another sound I've done, let's see, like someone was like pulling a piece of cloth off of an easel like where there's art and they were like pulling it off, and so like we just took a huge thick blanket and went and it just like was the most beautiful perfect sound ever. Another one is someone was like sketching on a canvas, and I guess you could have a canvas and a pencil. Like you can always literally recreate the sound with the things they're using, but sometimes if you want it to be more sharp or more um, enunciated, you can use different things. So we used like this like it was kind of a canvas like material. I'm not really sure what it was. I also took that from the art room. I put it back. And it was and I took a fork and I just like scratched on the paper because the fork was going to give me more of the sound I wanted than a pencil. And then also I wasn't damaging the stuff I took from the art room. So I just used a fork and did that. So I've done that before. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, and then one of my favorite sounds I've ever done is punching someone. And so I didn't punch anyone, to clarify. Someone else was being punched in the film. And I layered a bunch of sounds. I had raw meat and I put on a glove and I just like punched the raw like chicken. I usually do a chicken breast or something thicker to get that like feeling of like human like flesh. You don't want it like a flat breast because then it's gonna sound really pathetic and not meaty enough. So I did that. I punched some meat. I also like had just gloves in my hand and just punched my hand, and I layered that, and then I dropped like one of the octaves down or the pitch down on one of them to get more of that bassy feeling, and then I crushed a pepper so then it sounded like the person's jaw was breaking. So I they like the person was getting punched 3 times, so each punch was like more aggressive. So it'd be like the meat, then the base layer, and then the third punch was like the jaw breaking. So I would have like I used a pepper to like make the crunch sound of the bones. So like there's a lot of layering, but I think that's probably the most fun sound I've done. I think. Yeah. So
Wow. So how did you get to becoming like into like a boom operator to going kind of straight into Foley?
so well, do bop. gonna ask you, hey, can you do production too? Because nobody wants to do it. And so they'll be like, yeah, like here. And then they just kind of give it to you. And so like for me, I was interested in learning the post-production part already, but um I kind of just got thrown into it. I didn't really like seek out an opportunity, which I think y'all should do. Like, definitely seek out opportunities for things you want to do. Don't be afraid to ask me. If you see me on campus, please grab me and ask me, or like ask anybody, like an upperclassman, about things because that's really important. And then they'll bring you along on some things too. But I kind of just got thrown into it. The first Foley thing I did was for Alfredo and his father, or his short film Father. And he just heard through like a professor that I wanted to do, like that I was interested in Foley. I had no experience at all doing Foley, none. I just watched a bunch of videos. That's all I did. I had no experience. And he was like, hey, would you want to do this? And I was like, sure. But I was so nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. But my background in like, oh, it's gonna sound so nerdy. My background in like band and music helped me a lot with like Foley because it helped me with timing and understanding like sound a lot better and things like that. And so I had some like idea of what was gonna happen, but then like I got into the recording studio and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Like recreating footsteps and like doing things. It was just so much fun and like recreating rain and like all this stuff. And so again, I didn't really like it wasn't really a transition. It was kind of like I just got thrown into it because someone asked me to do it. And I was like, sure. And then ever since then, because of that one project and that went into the film festival, and then because of that, like awards were won like through sound design and things like that. And like also Stephen Hartwell did the mixing for that and like the sound design. He's amazing. He's an amazing sound designer. And so like awards were won for that, and then like doing Foley and stuff, just because of that one project led me to all of the other projects I've ever worked on. And yeah, and then I also transitioned out of boom op stuff because I kind of want to not do that anymore. I don't really want to be on set doing like sound recording because I want to get more into the creative side of things. So yeah, I think once building up my reputation of being like, I can do sound design, I can do Foley, that kind of helped me transition out of doing boom op stuff, and focusing solely on creativity because people are like, oh, you can do this here. And then I get busy and filled up with other projects. So yeah.
Explain the difference between like Foley and sound design, if you would.
Yeah. So Foley, okay, well, there's the Foley mixer, the Foley artist, and then the sound designer. There's also like other jobs within that, but just for basics, I'm just going to start with that. So like the Foley artist or Foley performer is going to be the person who's actually like doing the physical, like creating the sounds, like breaking the celery, doing the footsteps, doing like all the stuff I talked about earlier. So that's like the actual Foley performer. And then the Foley mixer is going to be someone who's like on set with the person doing the Foley performing, and they'll be like kind of mixing as you go, kind of like placing it where it needs to be, kind of fixing it up for you and recording it, pressing the record button, things like that. And then the sound designer is a lot more involved. They're going to be doing like they'll take the Foley sounds that like the Foley performer and mixer recorded, and they'll like fix the levels on everything. They'll like place it where it needs to be, kind of thing, if it's not placed correctly, which most of the time it is. But a sound designer is going to be someone who's doing more of the creative work with sound. So they'll be doing like more of the narrative push for certain things. I'm trying to find a better way to explain this. So like, for example, I worked on the short film I mentioned earlier, Darkness. I worked on sound design for that. And so me and other sound designers were trying to create an atmosphere. So when you're creating an atmosphere, you have to think about what's happening in the environment, what sounds would be going on. Are there crickets? Are there, wind? Is there grass moving? Like what sounds are going on in this environment. So with sound design, you're thinking more about like atmosphere, you're thinking about specific monster sounds of like sound effects, and you're designing it yourself. You're creating that. You may not be recording it, and also sound designers do a lot of Foley themselves too. It's kind of a duo package, so it kind of just depends on what like you're looking for. If you want just one person working on it, they'll do everything. But if you go to like a studio, they'll have like a specific Foley artist, a specific sound designer and things. But a sound designer will do like they'll build the world essentially of sound for you. And they'll have a lot of like they'll mess with the levels, the gain, and like the how loud the sound's gonna be, which sounds are gonna get louder at certain moments. And things like that. So as a sound designer, I've done a lot of that, like atmosphere building and specific sounds. Like I'm trying to think, like if there was a car crash or something, that's going to be more on the side of like sound design and sound effects because it's really hard to do Foley for that. Um, so yeah, sound design is more atmospheric and more well, it does everything. They do everything, okay? They do everything, but like they're doing like the major editing, the major like um tweaks here and there on certain sounds. So they're kind of like I would say that honestly, the sound designer is like the director of sound, in my opinion. They're like the creative input. But they're also the editor. So the director and editor married together in sound. So,
Okay. So what projects are you working on now?
oh boy. Um, let's see. I'm currently working on an audio drama that hopefully will be finished soon. It's been in the works for a while. So I'm doing that. I also edit and record a podcast called the S Tier. Y'all should go listen to it. It's kind of funny. Um, yeah, it's on Spotify. So I work on that. I'm also let's see. I'm working. Oh, actually today I'm doing Foley for a film that one of our professors filmed over the summer called Do No Harm. So I'm doing Foley on that today, which is really exciting. I'm going to be doing like footsteps and some clothing movements and like other things, which I'm not going to say too much about. But so I'm doing that today. I'm working on that too. And then I'm also doing, what else? Oh, I just finished a short film doing the sound design for that called Gene. So I just finished that too, like a few months ago. So that's currently what I'm working on.
What is it like doing Foley for a feature?
Um, Overwhelming. It's kind of scary. Short films take a long time to do Foley for. It takes a few like hours depending on what needs to be done. So doing a feature is a little intimidating because it's like there's so much to do. Um, but I just try to think about it like it's a really long short film. It's the same thing you were doing, it's just really long. So yeah, it's a little scary, but I got it. I got it. You shouldn't be scared to do that.
How long does it take?
Again, depends on the well, if we're saying short film specifically, because that's what most of us are going to be doing. Short film specific, it depends on how much there is needed to be done. So like on a realistic, like non-animated one, it took us, and I had three people helping me, or well, three people total. 2 days, 9 hour sessions, 2 9 hour sessions, so 18 hours maybe total. Because you got to think about like, to be fair, that was my first time doing it. I think I do it a little bit faster now, but yeah, it took a long time because you gotta like footsteps take a while, like a long time. Because you have to get the timing perfectly, and yeah, it takes a while. So I would say if you're doing a short film, Foley there's not as much of it as you think there would be. So it can be anywhere from like a 5 hour session to 24 hours and more, just depending on what you need to get done. So it takes a while. Be prepared for that. It does take a long time. So,
How long is it taking for the feature?
um, we'll see. Today is actually my first day doing it, so I don't know yet. Um, I'm interested to see how much needs to be done. So I don't know. I'll get back to you on that because I have no idea. I'm a little nervous for how long that's gonna take. But I think I'm doing a 6 hour session today just to see how much I can get done. So 6 hours as of right now, for sure. So
And then what are your goals in terms of where you hope to be career-wise down the road?
I think it'd be nice to have like work in a studio, like an actual studio as a Foley artist. I lean more towards that side than the sound design side, just because I like being able to move in my job a lot and like being able to be creative that way. So my goal would to be a part of a studio, to be a part of a studio, a sound design studio or a Foley studio, and have like sound designers and Foley mixers that I like want to work with and people I enjoy being around. So whether that means opening my own studio, which would be a lot of money, but I'm thinking about it still. Doing something like that or learning from someone who already has like a lot of experience as a Foley artist and maybe like weaseling my way into a studio somehow. But that would be the goal, is to work at a studio. I don't really want to freelance, because that means I'd be doing basically everything. I'd be doing a lot of sound design. I mean, you can always send it off to someone else, but I prefer to like work with people that I know I'm going to work with every single day, so I can build that like community and that trust like with those people, because I want to make sure I trust the person I'm about to send my work to. So yeah, studio is the goal, and to work on like animated stuff and do sound for animated things mostly. So, or audio dramas too.
Interesting. And then if there are any students in my class who are interested in Foley, but they've never done anything sound wise, where should they start?
Mhm. Watch videos, watch a bunch of YouTube videos on how other professionals have done it. It's gonna seem really scary when you start to do it yourself, but it's not, I promise you. It's actually it's a lot of fun. I promise you it's a lot of fun. So watch a bunch of videos to kind of get an idea of like how other like what sounds are being created with what objects to kind of, and it's okay if you like use the same objects. Like no one's gonna ridicule you for copying another Foley artist. Like um and my thing would be like start with the easier stuff. So like footsteps, start with that because you already walk every day. So like how hard can it be, you know? Um it is hard. Footsteps are difficult. But yeah, so just like start with footsteps, the basic stuff, like maybe clothing movement, so like a jacket moving, or if someone's like I don't know, writing something with a pencil, like the very like day-to-day things, try recreating that yourself, or like look at a silent film and try recreating those sounds yourself or in your own way with Foley. That's a good way to practice. I did that a little bit. Um, so yeah, don't be overwhelmed. It's okay. The most overwhelming part is just setting up the equipment to record. That's the most overwhelming part. And if you need help with that, I'm more than happy to help you, or just ask somebody, an upperclassman. I'm sure they'll know. So yeah.
All right. Anything else that you want to share?
Um, I don't think so. My name is Tarin. Come find me on campus. I don't know. Like, don't be afraid to um ask me questions. And then also like I'm more than fine with you giving them like my email or something like that if they have any questions about anything, if they want. So it's Tarin.wittig@gmail.com. But she can like if you want it, she can spell it out for you.
Yes, I can. All right. Thank you, Tarin.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop the recording.